The guy who once called me a statist, but he took it back, is Ron Paul. Congressman Paul, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
You know, I find myself defending you more and more. Let me give you two recent examples. First, I supported your $1 trillion plan to cut spending immediately. I think it's a great idea. That in and of itself, we do that. Remember, we're borrowing what? We have taken $2.2 trillion, and we're borrowing 40 cents of every dollar. We're spending $3.7 trillion. Right. So that you nearly bring us down immediately to a balanced budget. I like the idea to live within our means. I think otherwise the country's headed for bankruptcy. So I endorsed your idea.
Great.
Okay. Secondly, I thought the CBS debate where you got 89 seconds was deplorable. I wanted to get your reaction.
Well, that's how a lot of people felt. And, you know, what's interesting is sometimes when you're treated that way, it doesn't always punish you like maybe they're trying to do, because the 89 seconds are now very well known. and, you know, it was sort of like after I essentially tied you at the Ames straw vote. You know, that became the news itself. So, you know, I think no matter where you are in politics, politicians are always mistreated, you know, so to speak. But sometimes they truly are you know, we tend to be paranoid, but we are all, but we can be mistreated. But, you know, I sort of accept that. So up until now, I haven't said a whole lot about it. But the staff and I, we were pretty annoyed with the last debate. We've been treated, you know, more fairly in the other one. So this one was pretty outrageous.
No, listen, I couldn't believe it, and I just think it's unfair. I mean, you're polling well. Look, for example, I know they have to make tough decisions sometimes, especially when you get down to the wire, and if somebody's not polling above a certain percent. That's why you were not in one Fox poll one year, and your supporters threw snowballs at me, as if I made. Look, if I could make all the decisions, you know, that'd be great. I'd love to be the decision maker, but I'm just a humble host, and an appreciative one, I'm telling you. But, you know, I just thought if they're going to invite you and you're going to go and take the time and fly there and you're going to stand on the stage, and what was the debate, 90 minutes, and you get 90 seconds, I mean, it's just not worth your time. If they're going to tell you ahead of time you're only going to get 90 seconds, it's, you know, you could be out doing a rally and raising money or some other thing.
But they've sort of trapped you, because even the 90 seconds, if you don't show, then it's perceived that you're not part of that group and that you've been dismissed, and they wouldn't understand the real reason. So in many ways, we don't have much choice. If all the other candidates are going, you have to go and take what you can get and do the best you can.
All right, now I'm going to give you issue number 3 where I agree with you on. You said that if Republicans capitulate, there will be a punishment. And I don't think there'll be any changes in the executive branch when you were asked about the possibility that a deal is going to be struck that's going to include tax increases or more tax increases than spending cuts. And you said if I had anything to do with it, I would not accept it. I agree with you there.
Well, good. And, you know, the Republicans have gone through that before, and they got punished for it. And, you know, we are on the verge of a great deal of dissent in this country. You know, the independent movement, whether it's Occupy or the Tea Party movement, there's a lot of people right now are asking a lot of questions about the leadership of both parties. So if we fall back on it and on these promises after having done well and gotten control of the House again, if we capitulate, they will punish, you know, the Republican Party. So I'm just sort of expressing my opinion that they better not do it, or they're not going to be very happy with themselves.
Well, I totally agree with you. You know, by the way, now aren't you sorry you called me Rush and Levin status? Now, see how often I'm agreeing with you here? I got 3. So far, you're 3 for 3, Congressman, and you called me a statist once. Me, Rush, and Levin.
Yeah.
What does mean? What does mean?
Sean, you're wanting to be friendly now. Why should I pick on you right now? I gotta, you know.
I have never been mean to you, ever. I've disagreed with you, mostly on foreign policy. I say it all the time. Well, you and I just have a different disagreement about America's role in the world. I think your intentions are pure, but I just disagree. So what?
Yeah, but even on that, I think we do have some agreements. I think you would say that we should be cautious. You know, George Bush was very cautious about his foreign policy when he said that we should have a humble foreign policy and we shouldn't be the policemen of the world and we shouldn't go to war under the UN resolution.
Listen,
we should be a little bit more cautious. So I think that's what I have pushed.
Yeah, I'm still giving you a hard time over calling the three of us statists, but that's all right. I'm having fun with you. But look, I for example, I'm looking at it realistically. I don't know if we'd be able to chop the $1 trillion off the budget in a year, but I like the idea. I think it's ambitious. I think it's bold. I think it would be good for the country. And, for example, I think when we're dealing with 25 years out and we don't deal with the root cause, which is baseline budgeting, I have a problem because you and I both know future Congresses are never going to abide by it.
Right. The next year's budget's the only thing that really counts. And because we deferred to a super committee, which I hope you agree with me is really not the way it's supposed to be done.
That's shirking your responsibility.
Right. So, and even if they cut, $1 trillion over the next 10 years from baseline budgeting, it means nothing. I'm convinced that the people I know up there, including everybody in the administration and unfortunately our leadership, is I don't think they understand the seriousness of this. I mean, our financial condition around the world, because there's been a building up of pyramiding of debt for this last 40 years. And of course, I date it from the time we lost our last link to gold, and this has been pyramiding. And this is a debt crisis, and it's international, and it's bigger in scope than anything ever existed before. And if we pretend it's not serious, I think they're in total denial. And because if they were serious, they would be cutting. They would be cutting back on spending because obviously to just raise taxes to get rid of the deficit is not going to solve the problem. That just compounds the problem because our government is too big already. So as far as I'm concerned, you have to cut. But so far, I can't get very many people in Washington to agree with that. I get more on talk shows and people outside, Washington, and I think that's been helping me in the polling that I've gotten in the last few months.
Well, I think you've done well. You came in fourth place in today's Fox poll with 8%, but you'd been polling in double digits pretty consistently throughout the race, but you seem to be just missing that top tier in polling. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, where you have to look, though, Sean, is what's going on in New Hampshire and Iowa.
Your Iowa numbers were great. I saw them.
Well, this is where all the effort is spent. You know, I spend 90% of my time in those two states, and we're doing very, very well in those two states. So we're quite comfortable on that. Now, our internal polls have been favorable in those states, and now the independent polling is confirming what we've known for several weeks now. So I think the momentum is our direction. Romney's dropped off in Iowa, and he's not quite as strong in New Hampshire as some of the polling shows. So we're pretty comfortable that our expenditures in the campaign are doing the kind of job that we want.
Yeah. Now, your top advisor, what's this guy's name, Jesse Benton, he was in the Politico today, and he said that, or I guess earlier this week, and he said that you've got to finish in the top three in Iowa and New Hampshire in order to win the Republican presidential nomination. I'm not sure I agree with him. I mean, certainly those would be states that you'd want to do well in, and certainly you need the momentum, and whoever does win either the caucus or the primary is going to get a lot of momentum and a lot of money out of those states.
Right.
But I would think at some point you've got to have a win. But I don't necessarily believe it has to be immediately.
No, but I think if I'm fourth or fifth in both New Hampshire and Iowa, that wouldn't be a good sign. You know, that would be a strong negative. In some ways, it might not be the end, but it wouldn't be very good. But to say that I have to have the first place in E1 or both, I don't think that is necessary. So, you know, if I had two second places, that would put me in a position to be the alternative to Romney, because everybody assumes that, you know, Romney is in the lead. Although his numbers aren't going up. If anything, his numbers are very stable, and on occasion they dip down.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of the surge? For example, we had the Michelle Bachmann surge, the Perry surge, the Pawlenty surge, the Herman Cain surge. Now we have the Gingrich surge, and Romney pretty much stays up there in the top. I mean, what do you make of the volatility? As a matter of fact, I'd say the two most stable polling candidates are Mitt Romney at the top and you in the middle.
Yeah, and I think that is the case. So they're looking for somebody else, obviously, but we're pleased because if you test, when you do this polling, you find out how strong the support is, whether it's mediocre or strong support. And I think that's where we come in the best. Ours is very, very solid, and it's grown steadily. It has not soared. So I think it's a healthy, steady growth that counts. But, you've run into a couple of our supporters. They're pretty determined. They're not going to be swayed very easily. So we feel very good about the support, but we do have to keep growing as we have been.
All right, there's one area of disagreement we've got to go over here. In a recent interview, you left open the possibility of an independent run. And I think we have a process. You've decided to run as a Republican in this race, right?
Sure.
I think if you don't win, and I think, look, you've had, except for the 89-second debacle, which I thought was fundamentally unfair, you've had your opportunity to get your message out. You're going to have a fair shot in the primaries and the caucuses. You agree with that, right?
Right.
All right, so then if you lose, and then you run an independent, let's say you take 2, 3, 4% from whoever the Republican is. I'm giving a low number.
Yeah.
That might
be worth much. It wouldn't be worth the effort.
Well, it wouldn't be worth the effort. And the point is that wouldn't you be splitting the anti-Obama vote?
Sure, and that's why it's not going to happen.
Well, it says
people like to build that up, and because I don't sign an oath on a piece of paper, I have no intention of doing it.
Well, hang on. Let me read from the Politico. It says Paul keeps leaving Indy run on the table. In other words, that you won't definitively say, no, I'm not going to do it. So will you say today, no, I definitely won't do it? I'm not asking for a blood signature here.
I have no intention of doing it.
No. I have no intention. Is not saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
You said I'd probably just get a few percentage and it would only hurt the Republicans. And
well, you agree with that. You agree it would split the anti-Obama vote, right? You're smart.
Yeah, so I have no plan to do that.
No plan, so that means you won't do it.
I have no plans to do it. There's no intention
You sound like Bill.
it.
No, wait a minute, Congressman. You sound like Bill Clinton when you say that.
Well, but I'm also telling the truth. So I have absolutely no plan. They did this.
No, I believe you have. Wait a minute. I believe you have no plan, but you're still leaving that door open just a crack, and I'm just wondering why you won't close it completely.
Well, I guess just to keep you guessing a little bit.
I mean, just to mess around with.
It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to. You are not going to do it then.
I have no plans to do it.
I didn't ask you if you have any plans or intent. I asked if you're not. I asked if you're not going to do it.
See, well, no, I'm not.
Come on, go ahead, make some news for us here. Go ahead.
I have no intention of doing it.
That is not news. You already said that. I say I am not going to do it.
That's what I've said all along, so they shouldn't interpret that to say that I'm planning to do it.
I have no intention to do it, but doesn't mean you won't do it.
I have one intention, one concentration is raise money, continue my campaign. And we're in second place right now in 2 key states, and I expect to keep doing that. And
I expect to keep doing that. I have no plan to do this. Well, I've actually enjoyed getting to know you more. And I love Rand. Your son is awesome.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. We're biased toward him, too.
Yeah. I'm going to have to now pressure him on your behalf. I'm going to say, will you tell your father to give me the news and break it on my program? All right, Congressman Ron Paul, presidential candidate, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Sean.
I appreciate it. 800-941-SEAN is our number. You want to be a part of the program. And much more coming up. We have a great Hannity tonight at